Welcome back, fourth grade. Here's another lesson for you. This time we're going to be talking about equivalent fractions. We actually started working on this while you guys were still here. You got a little taste of it, and I just want to do a quick review to make sure that you know what to do with it when you come across it in your curriculum. So equivalent fractions are fractions that have the same value. One of the strategies that you can use to determine if these fractions are equivalent or not is to use a drawing. So I'm going to take the same shape, in this case a rectangle, and I'm going to represent what 1/2 looks like. Okay? I'm going to check and see if 2/4 done on the same shape are going to show me the same amount. I want to make it as accurate as I can, so I'm going to try and keep this as close as I can, but as you guys know, I'm only human. This time I want to represent the fraction 2/4. Well, the denominator tells us that there's going to be 4 pieces, which I got. The numerator tells us how many to shade in. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in 2 pieces of this, and then I want you to compare those 2 fraction bars. They're showing us that 1/2 is equivalent or the same amount as 2/4. Now there are several different ways that you can make an equivalent fraction. I want to remind you of some basics first off. Now, when we're working with fractions and we're thinking about ways to make a number larger or smaller, we're only allowed to use multiplication and division. So I'm going to put that up here just so you don't forget. I can't use addition and subtraction when I'm comparing these things. So what I'm going to do first is give you an example of a fraction, and we're going to create an equivalent fraction. Remember, equivalent means the same amount. So if I take the fraction 2/4 and I want to turn it into 8s, I've got to figure out what's happening with this 4 to turn it into an 8. Remember, we can only use multiplication or division. So what's going to make a number larger, multiplication or division? Well, it's multiplication. So I have to ask myself, what did I do to this 4 to make it into an 8? Well, I multiplied by 2. Now, I also know that with equivalent fractions, whatever you do to one part of the fraction, you have to do the same thing to the other. So if I just multiplied the denominator by 2, I need to do the same thing to the numerator. So what is 2 times 2? Well, it's 4. We have now just created equivalent fractions. 2/4 is the same thing as 4/8. Okay, let's try another one. What if I have 5/6 and I want to turn it into 18ths? Well, I know I'm making it larger again, so I can only use multiplication. So 6 times what is 18? Well, let's use multiples. Let's count it out. 6, 12, 18. That's 3 of them. So it means I multiplied 6 times 3 to get 18. Whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So I've got to multiply the top part by 3 also. What's 5 times 3? 15. That means I've just created equivalent fractions. The other piece that you're going to see when you're working in your workbooks is where they give you 2 sets of fractions and ask you if they're equivalent or not. So let's practice how to check that. So let's say that they give you 2/3 and they give you 5/9, and they want to know, is this an equivalent fraction? We're going to approach it the same way we did these guys. We're going to have to look at how the numbers are changing. Now, this 3 is turning into a 9, which means it's increasing. That means we have to be multiplying. What did we multiply 3 by to get 9? Well, let's count multiples. 3, 6, 9. Just so happens we multiplied it by 3. Now, whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3. This is where you guys have to check. Look at this math problem right here. Is 2 times 3 equal to 5? No. So we know that these are not equivalent. All right, let's try another set. What if we have 6/12 and we have 12/24? Let's determine, are they equivalent fractions? Again, you can start with the numerator on this one if you want to. What did I do to a 6 to make it into a 12? Well, I multiplied by 2. Well, so far so good. That one goes. If I do multiply the top by 2, I have to multiply the bottom by 2. Is 12 times 2 24? It is. So we know that these are equivalent fractions. So that's a way to check. Remember, if you do the math and it doesn't check out, then it's not equivalent. If you do the math and it checks out for both parts, it is an equivalent fraction. So hopefully that will help you guys.